Hello, everybody. Working on podcast number 3 here. I have currently right here. This is the animation for verses 1 through 5 that is doing hopefully a final render. The one previous I made to this had some big problems in it, which you will see because I'm including that file in this podcast. And right over here, podcast, ta-da, it's all working. So, let me just put this back up here. There we go. So, mainly what this podcast has is, let me think, creation of computer animation, which I've actually abbreviated capital C, lowercase w, capital C, lowercase a. Much faster than typing out creation with computer animation, when I can just do CwCa. So that's just an abbreviation I have adopted. In this podcast, I have 4 time-lapses, There's 4 time-lapse little footage things from when I was working. What I basically did is I have a screenshot program on my laptop, and I just set it up to, first time actually I did every 20 seconds, I took a picture, but when I was reviewing that one, I realized there wasn't enough pictures. There were 2 big jumps between every image. So in the subsequent screen caps, I did every 10 seconds I took a picture. So I have 4 of those, which I shall be explaining what I'm doing in the podcast. And then I have the one animation. The animation I actually just showed you, it was going to be in here. But then I'm also going to show you the previous animation of that I did, which had the problem in it. And then a few other test little renders that I did I'm going to throw in here. And I don't know, there'll probably be some more stuff. We're looking at probably a 15-minute podcast, I'm guessing. Okay, so the animation has finished on the animation here. Unfortunately, I've run into a little trouble with my screencasts. It seems as if CwCa Live here, if I set up a slideshow clip and change that, browse to the home location, which is home, and then podcasts, time-lapse, and just grab this top one here and hit OK. Give it a second to load up. I think there's like 140 images in there. Okay, there we go, 140 images. Unfortunately, and I've already actually started working on this, you'll notice 01, 02, 03, 04, I've renamed those. It unfortunately doesn't have smart naming, so, and this is kind of the fault of the screenshot program. So CwCa Live here is looking, and it's doing all the 100s, and then after we go through our 140 or so of these, now also we're at 14 and 140, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. All of these. So I'm kind of stuck with this dilemma of, do I rename every single one to have 3 digits? So any single digit number has 3 preceding zeros. Or I could just do preceding 2 zeros, and then I could assumedly, oh, maybe I couldn't. No, I guess I couldn't. I thought they let me rearrange these. But that's not an option. Ow! So I will have to rename every single one with 2 preceding zeros. That'll be fun. Okay, so I can almost make a podcast about the podcast here. As you all know, I was trying to do the screen cap videos. Unfortunately, there was absolutely no means by which I could get CwCa Live to work properly to do this. I would have had to have gone through, oh boy, it crashes and it tries to play the video. That's nice. Anyways, so there was absolutely no way I could go through and try to get this to work. It simply was not working. And I did not want to go through and rename like 1,000 files and put the zeros preceding all the numbers. And unfortunately, the screenshot software didn't seem to give me much option. So I don't know why it didn't, but it didn't. So instead, what I'm having to do is take all my screenshot images, run them through Windows Live Movie Maker Beta, in which I can rearrange the pictures, and actually if I have them in order here, which they do because Windows orders them correctly even without the preceding zeros. So I can just take them, select them all, click and drag the first guy from here right into my timeline in Windows Movie Maker, which just clear all those out. So I can just click on that first one. I got 740 here, throw them in. 740, it'll take it a minute to calculate my thumbnails on that. And then I can, someplace here, animations, one of these tabs up top, someplace, there's a duration, come on, what's it under? Here we go, duration for images, and each one should be 0.1, I believe, but I'm not sure if that's frames or if that's 0.1 seconds. That must be 0.1 seconds, great. Let's see if this runs 30 frames a second, and I want it to be showing for a third of a second. What, 0.3? Let's try that. 3 minutes 42, let's do 0.33. That should be closest, I think, to what I'm looking for. 4 minutes 5 seconds. Yeah, it's about right. So then if I preview this, we have our preview. That's about the right speed, I think. And then this, I'll have to save all these, export them, which goes pretty quick. Then take all of these files, and I might have to yet convert them once because they're WMVs. I'm not sure if Kdenlive will do that, but I believe it only gave me trouble with audio. So on these don't have any audio, I'm going to record that later. So this should work, I believe. But so that is what I'm having to do. So it's the look behind the podcast. Okay, so we have the first time-lapse screencast video. I'm actually working on the ocean in this one, trying to get the waves to look nice. Because you got several things you have to keep in mind with water. First, it's not static, so the waves are moving, so I have to have a way of animating that. Then there are small ripples on the surface that are in addition to the waves. The water is reflective and it's transparent, so it takes a long time to tweak it just right. And here I am creating the land that we will see pulling out of the Garden of Eden. Or, not out of the Garden of Eden, it is Garden of Eden, pulling out of the waters. So that took a while to create. And then, okay, so then here I am, looks like creating a plane. Yes, creating a plane. Okay, I'm going to be making the grass here in the Garden of Eden. This is a completely different piece of ground. As you'll notice, the Garden of Eden is actually going to be pretty much every scene will probably have its own new ground, because I was not going to try to create one plane or one ground mesh and then have the camera different locations on it. Most of them are going to be every single scene. Here we are in the garden, grass is going to be growing. This scene will probably never be used again. Well, actually it will be, because when the trees grow it's probably going to be in this plane. But for the most part, it's not reusable because it would just be too huge of a file and my computer couldn't handle it. But so here I am, I'm messing around with the grass settings, trying to get a decent looking grass that looks real and at the same time isn't too hard on the computer to compute everything. I've got, because in the verse it says, and got to let the earth bring forth grass and the herb yielding seed and whatever. So I actually had to, right now I'm actually doing this, I have the audio recording and then I'm going to getting all the times from where I'm saying these things to calculating the frames so that I can attempt to animate the grass growing at that right frame. Now to animate the grass I actually tried a few different methods. I tried just affecting the emit value and a normal value of the grass particles. That did not work though. So what I ended up doing was just using two planes, one above the other. The top plane was my ground plane. The one underneath it was when the grass was growing out of. So I just pulled up the grass plane, and then the tips of the grass poked through the ground plane on top of that, and it kind of made it look like it was growing. I realize it's not the best method, but because of my time constraints and my computer processing power and not wanting to spend 2 years trying to figure out how to do this, that's just what I ended up doing. So here I go again. I've actually recreated this because with that last one the grass was not working correctly. Just because of how I had set it up initially, the grass did not grow nice. So in this version, I have the grass that's more evenly distributed throughout the surface, whereas the last one, it was most heavy in the center, then as it pulled away it became thinner and thinner, which did not work for what I needed. So here I am just tweaking around with some of the grass settings again, trying to make it look more real. Like that one looked really dead. Obviously new grass is not going to look like that. Still looking like that. And I mean, it should look all nice, lush and green like this, not like those previous ones, which is why I kept changing around on that. Okay, here I am gonna be, looks like I'm animating up the keyframes for the grass growing out of the ground. So here we go, just moving around the plane so the grass comes up through, because doing the normals that I did just did not work. So I have a few renders here, and some of these renders are actually quite long. If you notice, these pictures were taken every 10 seconds, so between every picture there's a 10-second increment of time. So like that previous render there, that one took like 4 seconds to do a screen, that one 4 seconds to do the grass, that one about 3 seconds to do a brown field. So just something to keep in mind that there's 10 seconds between every picture here, so some of these render times can get pretty long, which is another thing you got to keep in mind when you're doing this. You want it to be short, because obviously this all has to be rendered 25 frames a second. It gets really long. Okay, here we go. I have the land pulled up out of the water, and then I'm doing, God divided the land from the seas, or the dry land from the seas. Dry land he called land, and the waters he called seas. So I just put the word seas on the seas, put the word land on the land, and here I'm actually just setting up a little bit of animation for the word seas, so it's kind of rocking in the waves. Here we are playing with the grass some more, trying to get it to grow nice. Looks like they're actually changing some texture coordinates to make it look like there's a soft breeze blowing through the grass, is what it's looking like. I could never tell if it was working. I often just got a muddy image, and it was hard to tell what was going on. So I'm not sure what we're doing for that yet. But this is much beyond where I actually am. That's just had some stuff I've been doing in free time. Okay, here again I am working on the water. Looks like trying to set up the... Oh, I know what it was. I was trying to troubleshoot. My water was getting some funny artifacts in it, little lines and stuff, so I was trying to figure that out. And then it also looks like, yep, creating a path for the Spirit of God to walk on, which I ended up using volumetrics for, and some lights. So that actually turned out pretty good. Okay, so here we have the original, or the first of the two renders of this end scene. However, there's no waves moving. They're just solid. I felt really stupid after I rendered it. I found that the waves didn't move, because I forgot to do one setting. So, that was disappointing, but here's the real good one. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. And God said, Let there be light. And there was light. And God saw the light, that it was good. And God divided the light from the darkness. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And evening and morning were the first day.